Hey, beautiful human. Welcome to episode 11 of From Chaos to Cozy, where we're on an amazing adventure, gaining clarity around our chaos and how to see our cozy more clearly. In the last episode, we returned to our focus on the chaotic human characters that we interact with and awareness of our cozy that comes about because of it, especially learning about our power of no. In this episode, we'll chat about how some of the things that we experience when we're younger, how they influence us as echoes throughout our lives until we're able to consciously recognize these programs that are running on autopilot below the surface in our subconscious. One of the things as a child that can be pretty scary is when you're told for the first time that you're moving away to a new city or state. Our inner child likes things to stay the way they are, and it's not a big fan of change, especially significant change. Losing friends, new unknown territory, new school, being the new kid in school, and starting over making new friends. When I was 8 years old, we moved from Colorado Springs, Colorado to Las Vegas, Nevada for the first move with my father. He was pursuing starting his own business. We were there for a year, and then we continued heading west to Anaheim, California, where we also lived for about a year. And then we moved back to Colorado Springs for 6 months, and then to Denver, Colorado, where we lived for 3 years. And then at 12 years old, we moved to San Antonio, Texas. I ended up living there for about 16 years because my parents divorced, or I'd probably have moved again at around ages 16 or 17 years of age because my father, he continued his gypsy adventure, moving many times after that. And I don't judge my father for it because I have continued adventures of my own, moving to different states myself since then. And after all, I did choose him as my father before I came down here. We talked about choosing our parents in an earlier episode. So if you want more of that, you can check that out. What my inner child learned early after the first move is that friends don't keep in touch when you move. It was a while ago before social media and the internet, way long time ago, so keeping in touch meant writing letters because long distance calling back then on phones was expensive back in the day, not free like it is now with cell phone plans. So I wrote, but never heard anything back, and this taught the little me that you didn't have to miss people. You can learn to live in the moment with who is in your life when you move a bunch as a child. And this was echoed later in my late teens, early 20s, when friends began to tell me not to contact them, that they would contact me when they wanted to hang out or do something. And they possibly saw me as maybe a little bit clingy because I would call them almost every day just to see how they were and if they wanted to do something. And being the, new kid at 4 different schools in 6 years also taught me that when you're an outsider, kids can be cruel to those who seem like strangers. If you aren't in their group that they know, then you are a common enemy and they can treat you as such. I experienced feeling alone in the Vegas and California schools, and then even began to be bullied and experienced the bullying in junior high in Denver, and it also followed me to San Antonio when I went to middle school there. I was a bit envious of people who grew up in the same place their entire lives, going to school with the same people, having friends that they had for several years. But it was interesting to discover later in my life when I shared how I had moved so much that others were jealous of me that I had the opportunity to move around so much. All those people that grew up in the same place with the same friends forever. And I suppose it is true that though the grass is greener on the other side, you still have to water it and mow it. I'm grateful that teenage suicide did not enter my mind back then, although if you've listened to my earlier episodes in this podcast, I do share how I reached that point in my early 20s. It was a tough time, but I also have no regrets now. After we've gone through the poo-poo caca valley in our lives, when we look back, we can be grateful for all those experiences that helped forge us into the powerful humans we are now. If we made it through it all, then we have a great record of overcoming every obstacle that was introduced into our lives. Because, hey, we're still here listening to this right now, right? I also realized that I chose the family that I did, which included all this movement and the experiences that came with them. Yeah, we sometimes wish we could have known all of that, the moment we were born. It would certainly change how we approach everything we face, but I kind of think that is the point of not knowing. To be able to experience the raw fear and lower vibrational situations and people to understand ourselves, our true selves, more clearly. One of the choices I made, of course, was selecting my parents, who were a bit absent in my life, and that they would move away from their families, where I would also not have the experience of growing up around grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and all of that tribe feeling. My dad worked a lot as he was trying to build his own business, and he wasn't, quite honestly, very happy at home, as he wasn't very happy with himself at these times. The outside world can never make us happy until we find our happiness on the inside. My mom also was a bit distant with working and trying to be the wife that she needed to be to earn my father's love. And they argued a lot. I know they didn't have strong examples their own selves growing up as children, so I know that they did the best they could with what they knew. But back then, my inner child didn't understand all that. So all this, added with the moving around, created a tendency to not attach to people. I still enjoyed friendships, interactions with others, and even relationships with people, but I can go years without chatting with someone and pick up where we left off without the need to be in constant contact with them. And when a relationship was over, or I left a city or a job, I could move forward without looking back. And it isn't like this cold, unfeeling way. It just felt neutral and was more about being in the moment and less in the past or the future, if that makes sense. I've shared how in my relationship, when I discovered they were flirting and possibly and most likely had interacted with someone intimately outside our relationship, how it pierced my heart. But later, when I knew the relationship was over, I was able to separate myself from those emotions because of the past and distanced myself from any emotional connection with them, even though we lived together for a bit after the breakup till they could find their own place. I find it interesting that detachment from the human experience of family blood, long-term friends, and all that, it allowed me to be friends with anyone and interact with people if I wanted to. It also provided the opportunity for me to dedicate a lot of my personal time to my inner relationship with spirit and inner reflection. In the beginning, it did seem more like maybe numbness, as it was rooted more in fear of being hurt, and it seemed to be a defensive move to protect my heart. But as I did the shadow work and looked at the roots of my behaviors, it did transform into a peaceful self-love and connection with spirit, where the love and the emotion of the outside world became an above and beyond extra gift that others would give to me. An analogy of all that spirit gave me that really helped me understand all that is that our heart is hungry for the love of back home, which is like a 10-course meal with 2 desserts. But our heart is taught to look outside of ourselves for that 10-course meal in a world that's a giant dessert bar that can only offer us 3rd dessert, 4th dessert, 5th dessert, etc. It's like walking into an auto parts store expecting them to serve food. It's just not what its purpose is. Our heart grows desperate for true nourishment because though the desserts are great, after a while, our heart grows tired of all that sugar, craves something really nutritious. And the only thing that nourishes our true heart is the unconditional love from above, which can only be found mostly inward and upward through our heart. And sure, sometimes there are gurus, ascended masters, a few individuals out there that have some unconditional love stored in their bags, with Tupperware, that they're able to give us a bite of, but our heart wants a 10-course meal, not a snack. So our heart can become so desperate for that love that it becomes hangry, hungry, angry. And as it searches outside of itself in relationships, situations, and things for something that they cannot give to it, hopelessness, frustration, depression, and ultimately fear set in. I'm never going to find love and I'm going to die, our heart yells. And when we become desperate enough, though, disappointed enough, hungry enough, we look away from the world and we look inward. We find our higher self there, looking back at us, offering the essence of who they are, unconditional love. For they are a powerful, supernatural, eternal spirit being who is made of unconditional love. And when I say they, I mean we, and I mean you, and it's beautiful. There it is, the 10-course meal with 2 desserts, so delicious, so filling, so satisfying. An amazing thing happens when we fill up from the inside and then overflow to the outside. We stop feeling this world is lacking because we are full from the inside. And what felt like it was falling short before from the outside suddenly becomes above and beyond extra, and our life feels so full. We don't stop wanting love from the outside world, we just stop needing it. And we can always make more room for dessert, right? So we let people bring us third dessert and fourth dessert and fifth dessert. And when someone's bringing us sixth dessert and suddenly pulls it away from us, denying us that sixth dessert, where before we might have freaked out and done anything to try to get them back to give us that sixth dessert, now we're so full that we don't freak out. We might even be inwardly thankful for them taking the dessert away because we are so full. It brings a special freedom. It allows us to define our self-worth from the inside out, instead of looking to the retail price of the outside world to define our value and what we think other people think that we're worth to them. We move from the clearance rack to a special place of pricelessness. Why do we care about what other humans think of us anyway? Well, the energy of this planet is one of contrast and opposites. And that makes sense because a big part of why we come here is to understand more of who we really are by experiencing a lot of opposites of what and who we truly are. Our programming, our ego, our human nature, all of that is programmed into it. Compare, compare, compare. And it does its jobs very well, don't it? We experience the world of opposites through our 5 senses: hot, cold, soft, hard, light, dark, sweet, sour, loud, quiet, beautiful scents versus ugly odors, and so much more. And these are all on the same scales, they just are on opposite ends, right? Light is on the very side of one, darkness on the other, and somewhere in between it starts to turn dark, and so it's all part of the same spectrum, if that makes sense. We also experience the contrast and opposites through our thoughts and emotions. Kind or mean, love or hate, chaos or peace, need or satisfaction, fail, succeed, and again, so much more. Humans learn from other humans what the rules of acceptable are through the praise and punishment. lovable and rejectable contrasts. The human wants the comfortable feelings of higher vibrational love and acceptance over the lower vibrational uncomfortable feelings of fear and rejection. So, one of the reasons we compare ourselves to others and judge others is to be able to know where we stand on the, rejectable scale. Another reason is that if we can distract others from judging us and have them judge someone else, we think we will fare much better. What's funny, once we're able to see it, is that we don't see the world as it is, people as they are. We see others and the world as we are. We see through our conditioned eyes and through our brain that has filters based on our own experiences. The things we think we see in the outside world are mirror reflections. Everything is our teacher. All those humans that we come across in each lifetime are our teachers, all showing us what we want to see about ourselves until we see it. In order for us to recognize something in someone else, we have to have somehow related to that inside of ourselves or identified how we are that way to ourselves or others. If we see something amazing, it's because we recognize that amazingness within ourselves. And if something is irritating us in someone else, it's somewhere, some way, somehow existing within ourselves. And when we realize this, we can stop speaking ill of others, instead looking how we think we are ill on the inside with this lower vibrational energies, emotions, actions, belief systems, and transform them into something higher vibrational, rooted in unconditional love. Seeing the truth of who we are, and then seeing the truth of who others are, as we change on the inside, our perception of the world also changes and goes through a metamorphosis. As our sixth sense comes more into alignment, grows stronger, and we access it more often, we begin to see those capital T truths. Instead of seeing others and situations through our human eyes, we begin to see through the eyes of spirit with compassion and great clarity. It's the difference between why a human is doing something because of their fear and the real higher reason that is being orchestrated by spirit. I sometimes have individuals ask me in card readings, why is someone doing what they're doing? And quite often I'll get two sets of data, two messages. One is about what's happening in that human's life and or what has happened in their lives, the reaction that they're having from their experiences in their human life. Especially if they are in fear, because their inner child will have disconnected from the intelligent, compassionate, loving side of its personality to go into survival mode. Thus, the human is doing stupid, uncompassionate, and unloving things. The second message, the second set of data, is the reality, the real capital T truth of why this situation was designed to happen for the individuals involved or impacted by the situation. What did we ask to happen for us before we came down to this planet to have the experiences that we're having? What about what is happening is about our own energy? What's it drawing to itself and the power of possibilities that come with this human experience on Earth? What is transforming within us as we become aware of what is stuffed below the surface in our subconscious? And what emotions no longer serve us? What thoughts and beliefs don't support our path any longer? There is so much more to what is happening around us outside of the human being doing its fear thing. One of those programs that are running on autopilot below the surface is our rate of exchange of giving and receiving. And this can impact our ability to receive love, jobs, raises, promotions, success, money, really any type of abundance or what our human side would see as abundance. And this rate of exchange is formulated when our emotional body is being formed, which for humans is around age 7 and under, even back into the womb. And I'm no psychological or medical expert or licensed professional, so seek more information on what that means for you if you want to find, scientific proof or opinions around that. I read it somewhere and it resonated with me, so I take that as truth for myself because I have seen this belief transform individuals' lives, and that's proof enough for me. At least currently. It seems to be based on those important individuals in our lives when we were that age that our little emotional inner child felt were important in our lives, that it would perceive itself as giving and giving and giving to them, let's say like 1,000 love coins, to only receive one little love coin back. We were children, so we didn't know any better, and it seemed like a fair trade, 1,000 to 1, but it was not. It was way out of balance. You can imagine that parents don't have a whole lot of extra anything when they are young. Having children, creating a home, making sure everyone's eating and has what they need to live and thrive, maintaining their own relationship with their spouse, with their friends, with their siblings, their parents, grandparents. They have a job and all the other things that are asking for their attention when we are 7 years old and younger. We can give them grace, give parents grace, knowing they did the best they could with what they knew at the time. Parents are the usual suspects, but there could also be other individuals that were important to us as well. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, special teachers, siblings, whoever it may be. But the important thing to be done to help balance out that rate of emotional and success exchange is to forgive those individuals as well. I know, we can choose to no longer be a vessel of pain because of someone else's actions or non-actions, words or silence. We can pour out the wrath, the resentment, the fear juice that was filled up that vessel to make room to become a vessel of love, especially of self-love. Until we do, our emotional inner child is keeping score, hatch marking on an emotional blackboard inside of us, counting up to those 1,000 love coins, then allowing us to receive one love coin, right? And once we do, we reach that 1,000, our little inner child erases all those 1,000 hatch marks and starts back at 0. It allows us to have the 1 coin, and then we start back all over again. No! It creates a force field of sorts that keeps things away from us or ejects it out of our lives until it feels we've reached the 1,000 coins again to allow love, success, or whatever it is that we're seeking to come into our lives. Have you felt like there is something keeping experiences of the outside world from getting to you? Yep, that's your inner emotional child. And please don't get mad at them. They're just doing what they were told. And when we bring the scale of the rate of exchange from the subconscious to the conscious, we can have a chat with them to talk about what the proper rate of exchange is, which is 1 to 1. And as we question who those important people were and allow ourselves to forgive them and release them, we also release ourselves from our own energetic, solitary confinement. If we delay, we just keep allowing those beliefs to continue to run on autopilot below the surface, echoing over and over, keeping things we certainly deserve at bay. The episodes up until now provide some ways on how to understand and transform those feelings, allowing forgiveness. So check them out if you haven't already, or if you want to get reinforcement in a new way to apply those to your out of balance rate of exchange. In the next episode, we look at an amazing tool provided by an amazing soul. Byron Katie, she calls her worksheet a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, which she offers for free at her website, thework.com, just THEWRRK.com. And it is a transformative tool that can aid us in overcoming some of our tendencies to be focused on others' actions and words. And it brings us some great freedom. So I'm excited. Till next time, remember, every second of every moment of our lives that we are eternally and unconditionally loved by the Mother and the Father of all things, our Creator. And of course, I love you too. So hang in there. Take care of you. We'll see you soon.